Okay, so I'm selling this mask on Etsy. This is raw silk, but you can make it in any kind of structured woven material works best. This one's actually a little bit too soft, so I ended up kind of fitting it to my face of where this flap is going to go over my nose, and then just doing a little quick whip stitch to tack it so that it always pleats in the right place. Because it can get kind of bulky and this can get folded if it's not, correctly over your nose. But it's super, super easy to make. It's literally one pattern piece and you just cut it 4 times. There's 2 layers here, one folded here and one folded here. So I just wanted to show you the pattern so that you could very easily make it yourself if you want to do that instead of buying one. So this is the pattern. So this is gridded, we call it dot paper, but each of these is 1 inch apart. So you can see the length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. And then the height in the center is 4 inches, 4 inches. And then here it is 3 inches. So I basically just drew a big rectangle, 4 inches, and then marked at 3. This is the center. The grain line is actually this direction, up and down, because this is like where your nose is and your chin. But if you just do 4 inches and 3, and then create a slight curve, and then fold it in half this way, and then in half this way, then you just cut that curve through all 4 pieces at the same time, and then it'll be the same curve on all the sides. And I keep losing this piece, so I've literally had to remake it like 5 or 6 times, but it's just so easy. Like, you don't even really need to keep one on hand. You could just make it as you need to. But if you're going to make them a lot, then obviously creating some kind of more solid piece is good. So right now I'm making this for an order, but I just am cutting 4. Probably can't do this one-handed. But right now you're just going to cut 4 pieces of this pattern, and then I'll show you how to sew it. Okay, so I have the 4 pieces here. So 2 of them are going to be the nose and chin flaps. So I'm going to separate these 2 and just fold them in half, and then stitch 1/4 inch along the fold to crease it. Oh, you can also put, well, maybe I will put in there. I bought some wire to do the nose bridge. I don't know where I put it, but we can add that in after anyway. Okay, this is the nose wire that I got. I haven't used it yet, but seems like it will work, but it is a little bit, oh no, it's fine. Okay, so maybe I just want to do like 2 inches. Should have marked the center first, but this works. stitch on each side to hold it in place. Not on top of the wire, but right to the side of it. That's one. Okay. Now these are going to end up going like this. The side that's facing up will be the part that is hidden to the inside, so I usually do the bobbin thread. I don't know if you can see, the bobbin thread looks more like it has a deeper hole. So the thread looks more invisible from the top thread side. So I do the bobbin thread to the bottom, but it really doesn't matter. And then you can stitch it first, or you can just go straight to overlock. You also don't have to overlock it, but I did get feedback that the because people are washing these so often, that the threads were unraveling and kind of like tickling your nose. So I just added this overlock just on this top and bottom edge. I'm using black. Obviously I should be using tonal, but you can't see it in the end, and it's going to be top stitched from the outside anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, when this pulls apart, if your threads don't have the proper tension, then you can see the thread. And so if you're using another color, then you would just want to stitch with your regular stitch thread just barely to the side of that, so you're not going to see the black through from the outside if you care that much. Okay, so what I have found, and I just made it as easy as possible by having only one pattern piece, so you do have to make this slight adjustment kind of at the machine, rather than, you know, I could make a separate pattern piece for these flaps, but it's just way easier to not do that. So I am actually angling this because your nose needs more room than like this flat. It kind of presses down on the bridge of your nose if you have a medium or larger nose. So to accommodate most people, I'm going to be stitching 1/2 inch here. So I'm bringing this in 3/8 or 1/4 at an angle just to this point at the center on both of these. So they're like kind of creating this triangle. And then I'm going to stitch down here at 1/2 inch in. And that's just, see, giving this ease here, this little like pleat, and angling it so that it's more contoured to your face. Also, we need elastic. So if you're just making this for yourself, it's great if you can just make the elastic the exact size that you need. Since I'm selling these to people that I don't know, I'm making the elastic adjustable, but then it has like a knot inside, which is just, you know, a little bit more bulky and less comfortable than not having to have that. So you can kind of go through this process and test it, and then figure out what size of elastic you want, what length of elastic you want, and then just finish it cleanly. But since I'm making it adjustable, I'm doing these each 13 inches long. And then I'm sewing them in on one side, and then I'm leaving a gap on the other side so that they can have a slip knot situation. So here's my little elastic tail just to make sure that it catches. And I'm just putting it up in, you know, between the flap layer and then the two kind of front layers. And then I usually backstitch across the, when it gets to where the two flap points meet, a couple times just to reinforce it, because that area is going to have a lot of tension. And then you want to make, if you are making it adjustable, you want to make the hole as small as you can really to still get the elastic through, but small enough so that a knot would not get pulled through. Actually, I need to make it smaller, because the elastic, you know, when you stretch it, it shrinks down a lot, the width. So you want to make sure that that won't pull through the hole. So see, I have a little gap here, and then this guy is stitched into the corner up there. And now I'm just going to reinforce this. Since I'm not overlocking this, I can't overlock it because I have to have this open, so I would have to, you know, try to overlock or rip out the overlock here, and that's just a waste of time. So I'm just doing another stitch about 1/4 of an inch in and just going along it to try and reduce the amount of fraying that's going to happen here as much as possible. But if you are doing it to size, then obviously you should overlock this side to make it cleaner. And then to make it easier when you're turning it out, you're just gonna clip your corners at an angle. This really doesn't have to be perfect. And then I usually trim down this longer side a little bit. Right. So just reducing the amount of threads that can unravel as much as possible. And then I'll show you. Small for my safety pin. Since I had added extra stitches at the end, I just can remove those, but you might have to go back to the machine and then backstitch it again. Okay, so this guy, see, can be adjusted. So I just tie a knot here so that they can adjust it later as needed. Do a double knot just to kind of ensure that it won't pull through the hole. And then I'm just doing the same thing on this other side. And I do, oh yeah, this side that you attach the elastic to, that should be, you do the same on both, because when you go to do your top stitch around after, then you can just do one continuous stitch, which I'll show you. So this one should be attached up here in this corner because this one's attached here. I usually don't pin things, just so that you see. Now, almost done. We're just going to turn it out, and then we're going to do like a 1/16 top stitch all around to just flatten this whole thing and hold all the layers together. So I'm going to press it first, and the only thing with pressing is that you want to make sure you're not pressing elastic because it will melt, which I have learned through this process. And probably this nose bridge is not heat safe. But you're gonna press it flat like this first to try and, get as much of the fabric out of that crease from the seam, and then press it back like this all around. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I just pressed this so you can see it's much more flat now. So these two are the ones that are stitched in, and these are the two with knots. So I'm just, on this side, these two have knots. So I'm going to stitch from like 1/4 or 3/8, even 1/2 inch is fine. Like just whatever you can do most comfortably to make sure you don't catch any of the elastic. You're gonna stitch 1/16 from the edge along here, and then one continuous 1/16 all the way like around this side. And when you're stitching, you want to kind of roll the under layers towards the back so that this seam is almost even slightly towards the back. It will just look cleaner from the front. You won't have a visible seam. I usually walk the corners. Especially on the sides, if you don't roll them under, then that angle you made, the edge of that flap is just going to kind of come out. I don't know if you can see it, but it will reverse that contour that you did. I was actually wrong before. The side that the thread is more noticeable on is the top side, which makes sense because the needle is pushing down and making the hole from this side, so you can see the hole more clearly. See, this stitch is more visible, and then from the underside, the bobbin is less visible. But that's okay. So that's it. And then I usually press it again because see, it's starting to kind of like roll here. But I'll just press it again and it will stay more flat, always with steam. And that's it. See, this took about 20 minutes or so. And then I'll show you what it looks like on. I'll put on one of mine that I made for myself, not this one obviously. So let's go do that. Okay, so here's just one of my masks. This one I didn't stitch down, like I was saying. I stitched the nose flap so that it would always stay where I wanted it, but this one I didn't. So I'll show you. See, here it can get kind of folded weird, so you want to like reach in, and there's gonna be like this fold happening over here. So it just helps keep it like less maintenance putting it on and off if you stitch it. But you know, for everyone's nose it will be kind of in a different place, the flap, and then you fix the chin one down here. So it can be, the flap can actually be, you know, smaller down here. There's actually enough extra that it can be pulled all the way up here if you want, if you feel more comfortable. I like it to have like a 1/4 inch kind of tuck here, the location. And then I know now we're supposed to be double masking, so I just tried this out and actually it worked pretty well. So just with the standard surgical, they said these ones are supposed to be on the outside because this material repels coronavirus or germs in general by static, creating static electricity, which I didn't know. I think that's really interesting. And then the cloth mask obviously just blocks through mechanism of just being a solid barrier, mostly solid. Obviously, depending on which fabric you're using, it has holes in it of varying sizes. So you want to make sure you're using something that's a tighter weave or knit, whatever works best. But for this style, I wouldn't use a knit because it just like this structure, you won't get any of this and it'll get wonky. So yeah, you can wear this over this quite easily. I probably would keep the nose bridge actually down here, but you know, if you want to go all the way up here to feel more comfortable, just kind of because of the shape, because this seam kind of sticks out away from your face, it can block your eyesight a bit looking down to have it all the way up there. So yeah, that's it. Enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this was helpful and talk to you later. Bye.